we are going to solve equations with a variable on both sides of the equation. So Friday, we had one variable and it took us one step to get it by itself. Okay. Now we're going to have variables on both sides of the equations, which means it's going to take us a little bit of work to solve for it. Okay. All right. So here we go. Just kind of in this blank space on page 9. Okay. To solve a multi-step equation, I'm going to give you some strategies. Okay. If possible or if needed, oh, you know what, Jonah? I put yours on the back bookshelf here. I need you to distribute. If there are any parentheses, I need you to distribute. There you go. Okay. If there are any parentheses, I need you to distribute. It is very possible that you don't need to do this first step. Okay. Second, I need you to combine like terms. Now, if you don't need to combine like terms, that's fine. But if there's anything you can combine on the left side, combine them. If there's anything you need to combine on the right side, combine them. Okay. Please pick a side. I don't care which side, but move your variables to one side. Okay. Move your constants to the other side. Okay. At this point, you're going to have constants on one side and variables on the other side. So it's probably going to look like this, like 5x equals 25 or something cool like that. Okay. So our last step will be to divide by our variable's coefficient if it is not 1. And then you will have, we're missing. All right, are we ready? Okay. I'm gonna have you turn to the next page. Okay. Right now we're gonna focus on these 4. Okay. So we're gonna do number 1 together. Okay. Okay. So there are no parentheses, so there's nothing we need to distribute. Is there anything on either side that we need to combine like terms for? Yeah. On the left side, can we combine anything?
Yeah.
We can?
Yeah, you just add those 2 things.
together. No, we cannot add them together because one has an X and the other one doesn't, okay? So we cannot do any of the combining like terms. So let's pick a side for our variables and a side for our constants. Now, I only see one side with a variable, so I'm just gonna keep it there. So I'm gonna take my constant and I wanna move it to the other side, okay? Nirvan, how do we take 4 and move it to the other side? I'll just look up here. Look up here. Is 4 being added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided to 3x? It's being added. So what's our inverse operation? Subtraction. We are going to subtract 4. So we have 3x equals 15. Okay. And how do you get x equals 5, Jonah? What do you do both sides?
So subtract 4 from both sides.
Yep. And then what's the next step?
Divide by 3.
Okay. Our coefficient is 3. It's being multiplied to x. So we're going to divide both sides by 3 to get x equals 5. And what I love about algebra is we can check our answer. So if we come back up to the problem and we say, okay, what is 3 times 5? 15 plus 4 is 19. That works out. Okay. Woohoo, we solved an equation. All right. You try number 2. You try number 2. It's modeled very similar to number 1. You try it. You try number 2 and then stop. Any more work than
I know, I'm trying to figure it out.
okay. Okay. When you and your elbow partner both have an answer, check each other's work and answer to see if you agree. So you can just like kind of all 3 talk right now. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ah.
No.
It's okay. It's okay.
Right,
Okay, if 5z equals 10, what's c? 5z equals 10, what's c? All right, Gavin, what do we do first?
Yeah, 13.
All right, we're gonna add 13 to both sides. So we have 5z, that doesn't look like a 5. 5z equals 10. Okay. From there, Estelle, what's our next step? Yep. So then we get z equals 2. Now, something that I like to do, because I never want to confuse a z and a 2, I'm always going to put a little line through my z. That way I never think it's a 2. Okay, so that's just, this is what my z's are going to look like, just so I can keep my z's and 2's separated. Okay. All right. Now let's move to number 5. We're not gonna worry about 3 right now. Okay, number 3 can be extra practice if you need it. I want to go to number 5. Okay. Once again, we do not need to do any distributing. Okay. We do not need to do any combining like terms. But Seth, if you were to guess, what do you think the first step should be? And how do we move the 5? And how do we move it over? What operation? Oh, thank you for your help. We're going to add 5 to both sides, okay? Because we want to keep our variables together. So F, we're going to keep F there. 5 doesn't have an F, so let's move it over. So now we have F over 4 equals -4. Okay. So now, Maddie, what's our last step? How do we get F by itself? We need to multiply 4 to both sides so that F equals -16. -4 times 4 is a -16. Are you okay with that? Okay, so let's kind of talk about this. So when I'm trying to get my F all by itself, I need to move things away from it. So 4 is tied closer to F than -5 is. So we moved the -5 first, and then we moved the 4 because the 4 was closer to it. Okay, now why am I talking like that? I want you to look at number 6. Number 6 looks a little bit different. Okay, now I want you to think about this in your head. Just think in your head. Which number on the left side is tied closer to Q? Is the -5 closer to Q? Shh, in your head, or is the 3 closer to Q? Okay, raise your hand if you think that -5 is closer to Q. Raise your hand if 3 is closer to Q. Okay, since this 3 is with both Q and -5, -5 is closer. Okay. We have to get rid of this 3 first because it's with Q and -5. So our first step in this problem is to multiply both sides by 3 so that those can cancel out. So Q plus -5 is 20. What's wrong with that? Seth? Okay, you made a noise. Do you not like it? What do you not like about it? So, since all of this is being divided by 3, I use the inverse operation. Since we're divided by 3, I'm multiplying by 3 so they cancel. Okay, so I multiplied by 3 over here also to get our 24. Okay, now I don't really like Q plus -5, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to Q minus 5. Are you okay with that? Because I think it looks a lot nicer, and now I know that I can just add 5 to both sides to get Q is 29. Okay. Okay. Now let's do some work with some combined like terms. We haven't gotten to do that yet. So we're going to scroll down to number 9. That's our next one. Okay. And I want you to look at number 9, and I want you to focus on that left side. Is there something on the left side that we can combine, Abby?
2x plus 12x.
We have a 12x and a 2x, okay? We need to combine those two together before we can do anything else. So we're gonna write 14x plus 4 equals 39. Now, we have a problem that looks more like the first one that we did, Okay, so Preston wants to tell me that we need to. What's our next step? You were ready to tell me. So we're gonna subtract 4 to get 14x equals 35. Is that right? Well, this is making me nervous. This is making me nervous. Okay, now what do I do? Divide by our coefficient, which is 14. So x equals 35/14. Now, I don't think I can take 35 and divide it by 14. But we can reduce it. How do we reduce it?
So you do 14, something would be 35, would it be 2.5 for it? I think,
That's not really what I'm thinking.
okay.
So I'm thinking that like 35 and 14 are both divisible by a number. That number is 7. So I know that I can take 35 and 14 and divide them both by 7, right? So to simplify, we can divide both of these by 7 to get 5's half. Yes. That is 2.5. Peyton, yours is 2.5,
Okay.
but you really couldn't tell me how.
I got the answer.
Sure. I will require that if there's a fraction, it will need to be reduced if possible. So 35/14 is a fraction that we can reduce, okay? Okay. Go ahead and look over on the next page to number 11. Finally, I see parentheses. Yay. Number 11 has parentheses. And when there's parentheses, what do we need to do?
We need to
Distribute.
Distribute. Okay, if there's parentheses, let's distribute so that we have 3z plus 21 equals. Amy, are you nervous? I see plus 21 and then I see a 21. Does that make you nervous at all? Amy's fine. She's gonna roll off her shoulder. Okay. What is our next step, Amy? Subtract 21. Oh dear. Colin, what's happening? What's happening? What do we have? We have 0. No problem. That's okay. Because if 3z equals 0, we're still going to do the same thing where we're going to divide by that coefficient to get z by itself. And what's 0 divided by 3?
0.
That's okay. I don't know. Now, let's check our answer. Let's check our answer. So, Peyton W. If I plug in 0 for z, what is 0 plus 7? Times 3. So does it work? It totally works. It totally works. Okay. Okay, 13. You know who's a goat? Mrs. Homan. Let's listen to her.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. We are going to work on number 13. Lucky number 13. Bless you. Okay, so our step were to take care of parentheses, distribute if we need to. Be very, very careful. When we distribute, That is a -3. So this becomes a -27 plus 3R. This is a -3 times a -R. So a negative times a negative is going to make a positive. What do you mean, why is it that? Sometimes it's like that. It's okay. No, it's just sometimes we're gonna have variables on the right side, sometimes we're gonna have them on the left side. Okay, so Stan was asking, why are the variables on the right side? Sometimes that's how they're gonna be written. Sometimes the variables will be on the left, sometimes they'll be on the right, sometimes they'll be on both sides. Okay, yes, my dear.
Why is it negative? How do you know it's just not a minus? Like, why is it connected to? Or how do you-
Okay, so you could either view that as a minus sign. And so you would have 12R minus 27 minus 3R. But then that subtraction still has to go to all of it. Okay, so if you have to distribute, I would take that subtraction and keep it with that number to make sure it applies to all that it needs to apply to. Okay. All right, so now look over here. We can take 12R and 3R and combine them. Now, it's gonna bother some of you that the R is on the right side. It's going to be okay, but let me tell you what you could do. Now, I like that 15R is positive, and really, we need to take this 27 and we need to move it over. How do we do that? We're gonna add 27. So we have 15R equals 60. Now, if this really bothers you, we do have a transitive property that you can say, okay, well, this is the same thing as 15R equals 60. It's really okay to do that. Okay. It is okay to do that. So then we can divide by 15 to get R equals
4.
Yeah. Oof, okay. I feel like we better do one word problem. Please read through number 16. Read through number 16. Okay, do we know the measure of angle 1? Yeah. It's 66 degrees. Do we know the measure of angle 2? No, I'm gonna call it X. And then the measure of angle 3, we know is half the measure of, is 57 more than half the measure of the second angle. 57 more than half the measure of the second angle. So I've said that our second angle is X. 57 more. What would that mean? Plus 57. So it's 57 more than half the measure of the second angle. So it's 57 more. So we add 57 to half the measure of the second angle. 1/2 X plus 57. So what do we know? We know that 3 angles of a triangle add up to be what? Yes. We know that from Advanced Math 7. But sis, let me tell you that any triangle, the three angles add up to be 180 degrees. Okay, so now what is 66 plus 57? 123?
That looks about good.
Only about good? Okay. And what's x plus 1/2 x?
1.5 x.
Okay. So you either need to write 1.5x or you need to write 3/2 x. Okay. So now we are going to subtract 123 from both sides to get something 7. I think it's 57.
I agree with you.
Okay. And then we can divide by 1.5 to get, I'll just tell you, 38. Okay, so what we can do is we can come over here. We know the measure of angle 2 is 38 degrees. And we know the measure of angle 3 is 1/2 times 38 plus 57, which is 76. Okay, so please remember that in your Google Classroom, your gold sheet in Google Classroom has the numbers I need you to do from the 1.2 bookwork and do answers to check answers. Please do that. If you come in with only answers tomorrow, you will get 0 credit for your homework because I'll just assume you copied this document right here. Show your work, people. Show your work. If you have flex, perfect time to be doing your homework assignment. And you can ask me questions if you have them.